Dealing with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery. Inspiring luxury. West Bay Pharmacy. Taking care of your health. And JN Money.
From abroad to yard.
Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctor's Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctor's Hospital. Always there for you. Call 949-6066.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Connor Studio.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, O land of soft, fresh breezes and verdant trees, so fair. Today is Monday, the 20th day of March, 2023, right here in the beautiful Cayman Islands. We hope and we trust that everyone had a restful, peaceful, enjoyable evening and weekend. Those of you who are on the roads of the Cayman Islands, whether you're a pedestrian, a cyclist, or operating any type of motorized vehicle, we again urge you to please, please, please be extremely cautious. Ensure that you observe the rules of the road, including, folks, using your indicators whenever you're navigating a roundabout. You always want to let the other drivers around you know exactly what you are doing as well. And bear in mind, if you observe the rules of the road, then the life you save may just be your own. For those of you who are celebrating a birthday today, we want to wish you a happy birthday and to remind you that today's birthday shout-outs are proudly brought to you by life insurance agent Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center, whose advice to you is to don't take chances with your family's future. Those of you who have lost loved ones, again, we want to extend our sincere condolences to you. We hope and we trust that your faith will help to carry you through these extremely challenging times and that the memories of your loved ones will be a blessing to you as well. Those of you who are ill and are either at home or at a medical facility here in the Cayman Islands or overseas, we wish you a speedy recovery. So, folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and by extension For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, wherever that may be. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. During that period, our phone lines are open. This morning, it is the radio voice of Silver Fox, Mr. Paul Akal, who's waiting to take your calls. You can call us on our toll-free number, provided courtesy of Flow. That toll-free number, 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. Email us at fortherecord, one word, fortherecord at candw.ky. WhatsApp us 925-3261, where you can send us a text message or leave us a voice note, the contents of which will be played during the course of the show. You can follow us on YouTube. You do that simply by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream, and we are also on Facebook, so you can follow us on Facebook as well. And again, to remind you that the birthday shout-outs on For the Record this morning, proudly brought to you by life insurance agent Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center, whose advice to you is don't take chances with your family's future. So let's see who's celebrating a birthday today. We have been asked to send out birthday greetings to Roshan, Akeem, Rob, and birthday greetings are coming from your mum and Gigi. Also, on Facebook, we have birthdays today. Let's see who's celebrating their birthday. Sharon Borden Downs, celebrating a birthday today, 20th of March. Nikki and Ingrid Harris also celebrating a birthday. So happy birthday to Ingrid Harris, Nikki Key, and Sharon Downs. Let's make sure I haven't missed any before we move on this morning. First of all, I want to say to our listening and viewing audience that initially we're going to have the phone lines closed off because we have guests in the studio. This morning I'm surrounded by 4 beautiful, beautiful ladies. I don't want to sound too chauvinistic or anything like that, but I'm surrounded by 4 beautiful ladies. And just to let you know that as a continuation of our series, which has been developed by the Ministry of Innovation, Investment and Social Development and the Department of Children and Family Services in collaboration with other key stakeholders, that we have developed and implemented communication strategies which will promote topics that are of interest to our older persons, provide awareness and information on subjects relating to older persons, highlight our history and culture and the experiences of our older persons, encourage the engagement and involvement of older persons in society, provide avenues for the voice of older persons to be heard. And of course, if you listen every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on For the Record, you're hearing the voice of an older person. Not shame at all to tell you my age. I just turned 72 on the 5th of February. So you hear the voice of an older person every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right here on For the Record as well. And also this whole strategy to augment intergenerational interactions. That may sound highfalutin, but what it means is getting our young people and our older people together and having them converse and interact with each other. So I spoke to you all about the 4 beautiful women in the studio with me. So before we go to our first commercial break, I want to first say, ladies, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Thank you, O.C.
Thank you.
Okay, and we're going to go around and have each of you introduce yourselves, tell us who you are, what you do, and then after that, we'll take our first commercial break.
My name is Tamara Worms Riley, and I'm the community dietitian with the Health Services Authority.
Okay.
And I'm Loy Kellerman. I'm the social work manager responsible for community development in the Department of Children and Family Services.
And I'm Susan Watling, the owner and operator of Will of Wellness and medical director of a clinic called Align in Camana Bay, both rehabilitation and physical therapy facilities.
Okay.
I'm Lorna Jackson, and I'm a general practitioner at the Health Service Authority.
Okay, we still have about 3 minutes before we go to our break. So, Ms. Kellerman, I want to give you an opportunity, as the lead person, and I may refer to you as my co-host this morning as well, to welcome you to give some opening comments also.
Thank you, O.C. So as you rightly said, this is our continuation of our series for radio shows focusing on older persons. I think we started in December, the first one, and we've had one every month under different themes. This month, today our theme is Healthy Living for Seniors. So obviously that's why we have all of these well-experienced and persons with lots of expertise in their various areas that are important to healthy living for seniors. We want to encourage seniors that we know that as we age, we have different health challenges, but it's very important to continue to maintain as best as possible a healthy lifestyle. And so our panel this morning will speak on various topics or various areas regarding healthy living. Dr. Jackson will speak about from the medical perspective. Ms. Watling, Susan, who has been, Dr. Jackson is no stranger to us because Dr. Jackson, many people would have known her in radiography and doing ultrasounds for many, many years. I think she did that for about 19 years. and then she said she had a call in one morning and decided that medicine was the way to go. So she's had good basic background to jump into medicine, and she's been doing medicine for I think about 13 years now.
Yeah, about that.
And Ms. Watling has actually been a physiotherapist. She worked with the Health Services Authority, or the Georgetown Hospital back then, for quite a number of years as a physiotherapist. She's been in the Cayman Islands working as a physiotherapist for over 40 years. So she's no stranger to, again, persons within the Cayman Islands. And then, of course, we have Miss Tamara Worms-Riley, who has been working with HSA for a number of years as well, a qualified dietitian, and again, in the community, working with lots of our people, so no stranger to any of us, I think, again. So we're looking forward, and we're asking people to listen in, and when the time comes to call in as well.
Certainly. Thank you very much for that, Ms. Kellerman. So, folks, those of you listening out there, if you have a friend, a family member, tell them if they want to know more about healthy living. And they don't necessarily have to be older persons as well. You may be a person who's has a close affiliation with an older person, and you can use the information that will be provided on here, to help you to help them as well. So, folks, we're going to take our first commercial break. When we return, the conversation will continue. So please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, He hath founded it upon the seas.
Lawrence Edwin Farrington, 1908 through 1981. Eddie Farrington started his seafaring career on a turtling vessel at the young age of 12. He went on to sail on schooners, serving as cook, sailor, and mate, before sailing on steamships. He joined the Merchant Marine in 1926. In 1940, during World War II, while traveling on the SS Stanport carrying supplies from New York to England, the crew was captured by Germans, who then torpedoed their ship. They were fortunate in that the norm was to torpedo the ship with the crew aboard. Eddie spent 4 years in a concentration camp in Germany along with 6 other Caymanians, and there he learned the trade of shoemaking. Upon his return to Cayman, he employed his new skills in making and repairing shoes during breaks between trips to sea, and he taught quite a few young men, including his son, the trade. He also contributed his skills to the community by repairing footballs and cricket balls free of charge. He retired from sea in 1975.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way. Positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
Your dream home starts with a vision, and often inspiration is at the heart of that vision. Brand Source Home Gallery's in-house designers are here to help bring your vision to life. Whether you're remodeling or building a new home, Brand Source Home Gallery is your one-stop solution. Explore their kitchen cabinets, sinks, faucets, bath fixtures, tubs, vanities, and more. Let Brand Source's designers help and inspire you with your next project. Call 623-5000 and schedule an appointment with a design expert at Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, serving Cayman for 50 years.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
They say you only live once. I say you only die once. But you live every day. I'm Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center, longtime supporter of Radio Cayman. Live your life, my friends. Happiness is in the journey, not the destination. When you're ready, I'm here to support you with the best financial decisions for your family's future. Cayman Insurance Center, protecting you and your family so you can take back your future. I'm Michael Webster, the sure way to protect your family. Call me when you're ready at 925-5433. Don't take chances with your family's future or your valuable assets.
Think life insurance.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're discussing healthy living for seniors in the Cayman Islands. That discussion is taking place with Dr. Lorna Jackson, Miss Susan Watley, Miss Tamara Worms-Riley, and from the ministry, Miss Loy Kellerman. So we're going to be talking about nutrition at this point in time. And we do know that here in the Cayman Islands, we have, our diets have certainly been transformed. We have moved from country where we basically grew our own foods. We still do that now, and we're encouraging more people to do that as well. I saw an article in one of the Old Trade Winds newspaper, talking about eating and foods, and the fact that life expectancy had increased so much. And that article focused also on the type of foods, the tubers and stuff that we grew and eat here in the Cayman Islands. But I'm no nutritionist. My specialty is consumption. But we're going to hear from Ms. Tamara, on this subject as well. So we're going to pass the mic over to you. The professional.
Yes. So as you know, as we age, we tend to, we would have worn most of our muscles as we grow. We run, we play. So as we age, our cells tend to grow old as well. So we can't deny the fact that we're all aging. So as we age, we require a lot more input in our nutrition to keep our longevity going. So it is expected that we should be focusing on the types of foods that we consume, to keep us living longer, because I think the biggest focus is on longevity as you age. So I usually recommend that people focus a lot of attention on nutrition assessment. So you want to make sure that your nutrition assessment is done at least twice, if not 3 times a year as you go beyond the age of 50. So once your nutritional assessment is done, it gives us a baseline as to where you stand. Your blood work is very important, because most people don't really know that your blood really tells a lot about you. People think that is what you say or what you look like and so on, but it's really your blood that tells the finer details as to what is going on with you. So we usually recommend that people get nutritionally assessed to start off with a baseline, so we know what is going on with your health. And so we can check on your liver function, we can check on your kidney function, we can go overall to check on, your complete blood count that deals with how much sodium, how much potassium is there in your blood, so we know what foods to now focus on. And I think that is where we usually start.
And who would normally conduct that assessment?
So the first assessment is usually done by someone like Dr. Jackson. So she would probably see her patient first, and then she would do the blood work and see where their baseline is. And if there is anything falling short, if she sees where the levels are either elevated or they're decreased, they're usually referred to see the dietitian to make some adjustment as it relates to their nutrition, to help those levels get either back to normal or to decrease, well, more than likely get it to optimal numbers.
Now I find as a person in my 70s that I'm not as attractive to meats as I used to be. I find that my body doesn't necessarily process them the way. So I tend to go more to plant-based products as well. But can you speak to accessibility here in the Cayman Islands as far as nutrition is concerned? It is becoming more and more expensive. So those persons who are on limited budgets may not necessarily be able to afford those things that are really healthy for them. Can you speak to that?
Right. So as you speak on accessibility, yes, because the more, as you know, that when you get to a certain age, you tend to retire. And I think we could speak on it from that perspective. And sometimes the money that you may get, whether it be from a pension, may not be a lot. And you have a lot of things to take care of. And I think that's where one of the problem may start, because you find that because you don't have a lot of money, your budget has to now be cut short. So you might not be able to afford some of the more expensive things. So we usually suggest that, if you are an elderly person, if you live alone, because I think there is a number of factors that comes into play when it comes to this. So if we're speaking on the fact that you may live alone, we usually suggest that you try to buy some of the things in bulk, and so that you're able to stretch things a little further. And for you said that you started off more like on a plant-based journey, which is understandable, because as you age, your palate changes. We all change as we grow older. So your palate will change, and it is understandable if your palate change. So if you want to start off, on a plant-based diet, we usually suggest that you also get your protein levels checked. Because as you know, most of our high biological value protein comes from the meat sources. But you do get protein from some plants, like your peas and beans and legumes, right? So if you are getting all the protein that you need from that source and your protein levels are normal, there is no need for concern. The only thing that we may need to look at is, what is your bone density like? So then your physician will want to check, if you are at risk for like osteoporosis and those things. Because if your B12 levels are a little bit down, then it can put you at risk for osteoporosis. And as we said, we get most of those high biological value protein. So if you are going more on a plant-based journey, but you want to do more like a pescatarian, so you want to do like fish and eggs and so on, that would also be good. So you'll be getting some of your vitamin D still, and some of your vitamin Bs as well. So as it relates to accessibility, we still want to jump back on that. As it relates to accessibility, yes, it's a little bit difficult to get things done, but I usually tend to suggest, which some of my older persons really don't like, is that I usually suggest potlucking, like, you know, getting together like an older person's group, and you all cook different meals, and then you come together, you know, chit chat a little bit on a Sunday or a Saturday, and each person bring one item. Some people don't like when I say that because they're like, no, I'm so used to being alone and I just don't like to go into other. But I said nothing is wrong with making friends. I told my mother that years ago, and one day she said to me, I made a friend. And I said, really? She said, yes. She went to the bank and she met this lady, and it was the best thing that has ever happened to her, because now that she's older, sometimes she'll go to her friend's house and they will cook, and she will say, oh, I'm at Miss Monica's house, and they would cook and they'll eat together. So I know that some of her nutrition needs is being met because she doesn't really want to cook anymore, that most of the children are out of the house. So I usually suggest some things like that.
Very quickly before we go to our 8 o'clock news, you spoke about protein as well. Any advice in relation to those liquids that are on the shelf? We see, you know, you're being bombarded, and I have to admit, I have, you know, in my refrigerator as well, my Ensure that I keep there. Sir. You know, sometimes if I decide that I don't want something to eat at that point in time, I will drink an Ensure. Recommendations in regards to those?
Yes, I do recommend those things, and I'm smiling because yes, we do recommend a lot of those things, because when you can't meet all of your nutritional needs with some of the food, some of the supplements do meet those needs, and some of them are what we call medical nutrition therapy feeds. So we do use them in other means, because, you know, we have patients who are on tube feeds, various types of tube feeds. So some of these feeds, yes, they are formulated for that purpose, and they do provide you with quite an array of vitamins and nutrients that you can use to supplement your foods between meals. So yes, most of them, but we tend to look at the sugar content, so watch that as well.
Yes. Okay, so folks, we're discussing here on For the Record healthy living for our seniors. We're talking about nutrition, exercise, and relaxation. That conversation is taking place with Dr. Lorna Jackson, Miss Susan Watley, Miss Tamara Worms-Riley, and Miss Loy Kellerman. We're going to our 8 o'clock news. When we return, the conversation will continue, so don't change that dial. For the Record, we'll be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news.
Radio Cayman time check now, 8 a.m. This time check brought to you by our friends at Foster's.
When you're on the go, the experienced team at Foster's Pharmacy are here to help. Drop off your prescription while you shop, or WhatsApp us and we'll prepare it, ready for your arrival.
Whether you need prescription or over-the-counter medications, blood glucose testing, or advice on vitamins and supplements, we're here early in the morning to late at night. Both of our locations at our Camana Bay and airport stores are open 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., Monday to Saturday.
For more info, visit fosters.ky/pharmacy. Foster's Pharmacy. Better health because we care.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller. Cayman's National Attraction Board Act could be getting an overhaul as government gazettes the Cayman Islands National Attractions Authority Bill. Details from Radio Cayman's April Cummings.
The bill, if passed in the House, will repeal and replace the Tourism Attraction Board to set up the Cayman Islands National Attractions Authority and its board. Under the bill, the National Attractions Authority would act as a body corporate, having power to, among other things, enter into contracts and to buy and sell land and other property. The provision also empowers the authority to sue and be sued in its corporate name and requires the authority to establish its head office. The legislation sets out the functions of the authority, which include the general and financial management of all property vested in it, and lets the tourism minister issue written policy directions to the authority after consultation with the board. The bill empowers the authority to borrow money in connection with the performance of its functions and enables it to maintain a reserve fund and determine the management and administration of that fund. Clause 20 provides for the transfer and vesting of assets and liabilities of the Tourism Attraction Board to the authority. April Cummings, Radio Cayman News.
You can find the full bill online at gov.ky. And the 358 courageous women who advocated for the right to vote here in the Cayman Islands are being honored by Celebrate Cayman this week with a series of district celebrations throughout Grand Cayman. A petition bearing the signatures of the suffragettes was placed before the Legislative Assembly of Justices in Vestry in May 1957. These women requested, quote, that they should be permitted from henceforth to exercise the right of voting in elections and be permitted to hold public office. This led to the passing of the sex disqualification removal law that was passed in December 1958. And then on September 23rd, 1959, Caymanian women finally participated in the electoral process for the very first time. Make sure to head to radiocayman.gov.ky and head to community events to see a full list of this week's events. In regional news, a strong earthquake shook southern Ecuador and northern Peru on Saturday, killing at least 15 people, trapping others under rubble and sending rescue teams out into streets littered with debris and fallen power lines. The U.S. Geological Survey reported an earthquake with a magnitude of about 6.8 that was centered just off the Pacific coast, about 50 miles from Ecuador's second largest city. One of the victims died in Peru, while 14 others died in Ecuador, where authorities also reported at least 126 people were injured. Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which will take us out of the newscast. I'm Karsley Fuller.
BBC News with Emily Thomas. China's President Xi Jinping has arrived in Moscow for talks with Vladimir Putin. It's his first visit since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and it comes days after international prosecutors accused the Russian leader of war crimes. The EU's top diplomat, Josep Borrell, has warned there'll be problems supplying arms to Ukraine if the bloc fails to agree on a joint procurement initiative today. A $2 billion plan is being discussed. European banking shares have fallen on the first day of trading since an emergency takeover of the failing Swiss bank Credit Suisse by its larger rival UBS. The Swiss government forced through the deal in a bid to shore up market confidence. Climate scientists gathered in Switzerland are preparing to release a key report summarising years of research. It will say the world is warmer now than at any time in the past 125,000 years, but will also point to solutions. Kenyan riot police have fired tear gas and water cannon to disperse opposition protests against the high cost of living. There were clashes in Nairobi's Kibera settlement, an opposition stronghold. South African police have arrested more than 80 people nationwide in connection with opposition protests. The Economic Freedom Fighters Party had called for people to stay away from work. The far-right Israeli government says it's prepared to soften its plan to overhaul the judiciary after months of protests. The coalition led by Benjamin Netanyahu has offered concessions, including delays. These have been dismissed by opposition activists. President Emmanuel Macron's government is facing two critical no-confidence votes in French Parliament today. Last week, it decided to force through a controversial rise in the state pension age, triggering violent protests in Paris and other cities. World News from the BBC.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road and in Buttontown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin, or the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Buttontown. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman with the latest up-to-date, accurate news and information. For your convenience, the headline news will be repeated on our sister station, Breeze 105.3 FM, weekdays at 8:30 a.m. Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or download the Radio Cayman app in the App Store or log on to www.radiocayman.gov.ky and stay connected to what's happening in the community. Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
At Kirk's Home Center, we can make your life much better. We got it all together. We got a great deal in store for you. From cookware to stereos
The 8:12 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
Good morning, Cayman. Let's take a look at your latest weather. Compliments of our friends at CG Britcay. Present temperature now 79 degrees Fahrenheit. It's still kind of a little bit patch of cloudiness here and there. Present feels like about 86 right now. Winds are out of the south at 5 miles per hour with gusts up to 6 miles per hour. Relative humidity 80%. Barometric pressure still at 30.00 and holding. An increase in cloudiness and showers are expected over the Cayman area from this afternoon as a cold front moves over our area. The front is expected to dissipate east of the Cayman area from late tonight, resulting in a decrease in cloudiness and showers over the Cayman area. So our forecast for today, partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers this morning, becoming cloudy with a 60% chance of showers and possible thunder from this afternoon. Temperatures will rise to the mid-80s. Winds will be southerly, becoming northwesterly by the afternoon at 5 to 10 knots, and seas will be slight with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet. Looking at later tonight, partly cloudy skies becoming cloudy at times with a 40% chance of showers. Temperatures will fall to the mid-70s. Winds will be north to northeast at 5 to 10 knots, increasing 10 to 15 knots from late tonight, and seas will be slight with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet. High tide is coming up in the next 30 minutes at 8:40 a.m. It's going to be low at 2:59 this afternoon and high at 9:05 tonight. Sunset is at 6:35. The outlook is for moderate to fresh northeasterly winds and seas from Wednesday morning as the associated high pressure system moves over the western Atlantic Ocean. And that, my friends, is your latest weather.
Head east on Cove Road. Sharp left on Church Street. Sharper left. No, your other left. Did I say left? Nope, you missed it. Okay, I'm lost.
With money-saving bundling options for home and motor, we're like a GPS that doesn't steer you wrong. CG Britcay. Good like that.
Let's stop and ask for directions.
The 8:12 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by OnCourse Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
Achieving our goals is rewarding, but at times can feel frustrating, especially if and when we miss our target. As you approach your goals in life, set yourself up for success. When setting your goals, tell a friend. An accountability partner is often helpful in achieving our goals. Let your parents or partner know what you're planning on doing. Sharing with others also helps us clarify our vision. Writing down your goals can help to solidify them and help you to stay accountable. Change your thinking and change your life.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by OnCourse Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
These days, feelings of loneliness, anxiety, stress, and depression can be overwhelming. Just know you are not alone. OnCourse Cayman offers private mental health services for children, teens, adults, and groups. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman. Health, wellness, and happiness.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
All right, good morning, my friends. Let's take a look at your present traffic situation. Still looking down from the east-west arterial, slow-moving traffic. But, of course, is beginning to clear up as the majority of citizens are in the Georgetown area. Looking down from the King Sports Center as well, traffic along the Linford Pearson and traffic along Crew Road. Bobby Thompson Way as well. Streets feeding into Georgetown getting fairly busy at the moment. Eastern Avenue especially busy at this time of the morning, and also Shannon Road, some pedestrian movement. West Bay Road looking okay so far, with moderate traffic heading into the Georgetown area. 3 cruise ship and 1 yacht is in at the moment, so look out for moving pedestrians in the Seafarers Way, South Church Street, North Church Street, and up to West Bay Road, and streets within the Georgetown area. And of course, taking a look at the traffic coming out of the Butterfield roundabout, some traffic along North Sound Road, and of course, still have some light traffic coming off the Ashley Tibbetts Highway into the Georgetown area. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, good morning to you. Had a beautiful weekend, especially in Cayman Brac, with very light traffic and even lighter traffic in Little Cayman. Buckle up and stay safe, my friends. Enjoy your ride into town, and our traffic report brought to you by our good friends at Subway.
When you're craving something big, something tasty that gives you that lip-smacking satisfaction, something that hits the spot, there is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
It's pretty tasty.
Filling and full of flavor. Try our new sweet onion steak teriyaki with a twist, or the classic chicken teriyaki. Top it with green pepper, onions, cheese, and that sweet onion teriyaki sauce, all piled on your favorite artisanal bread. Satisfy that craving with a footlong from Subway.
Fresh, delicious, tasty, meaty.
Let's make it a meal with a drink, chips, and cookies. There is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the People's Station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
You know what I love to do with my family? Go fishing. I can put the bait on and cast and reel the line all by myself. My mommy and daddy say when they were little, there were plenty more fish to catch, but now there are lots more people fishing, so it's harder to find them. That's why we have marine parks now. They set some areas aside so the fish there can have babies and grow bigger. Then they swim out to other areas where I can catch them. Having the marine parks means there will still be fish there when I'm grown up and fishing with a family of my own.
For more info, download the Cayman DOE app or visit doe.ky.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're discussing healthy living for seniors here in the Cayman Islands. That conversation is taking place with Miss Loy Kellerman, Dr. Lorna Jackson, Miss Tamara Worms-Riley, and Miss Susan Watling. We're going to continue on the nutritional aspect of it because Miss Riley has to leave us early. But before we do that, I want to introduce another lady in the studio with us, Miss Dorleen. Welcome. Good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
And even though you're no stranger to Radio Cayman, for the benefit of our viewing and listening audience, introduce yourself. Tell us what you do.
I am the Community Development Officer for Georgetown. Work with the Department of Children and Family Services.
Okay, so Ms. Riley, we're coming back over to you to talk about nutrition as well. And during the course of your discussion, I'd like you to talk a little bit also about, in the Cayman Islands, we do have some organizations that provide meals for our elderly, and how important it is for the nutritional aspect to be considered when those meals are being provided as well.
Right.
So yes, it is really, really important to look at the nutritional aspects of the food once you're preparing the food for our elderly patients. Now, the thing is that, as you know, most of the organizations that provides food for the elderly, they tend to provide food for quite an array of people. So everyone may have a different need for different nutrition. So you will have somebody who may have diabetes, you may have somebody who have just hypertension, somebody may have multiple other comorbidities. So it is kind of difficult for them to really individualize the meals. However, we tend to look at the base parts of the meal.
Okay.
So for instance, if you're looking at the base of the meal, we're looking at the starch, or what we call the sides, or the bread kind, right? So when you look at the type of bread kind that you're providing, you look at, how am I preparing this meal? Am I adding too much salt? Do I add sugar to some of the things that I'm doing? Am I adding too much oil? So that's one of the ways that you can make sure that what you're preparing can serve for everyone, but yet still can be nutritious. So you can cut back on the salt that you're using. Now, when you're looking at the protein, you want to look at the types of protein that you're providing. So if you're providing, for instance, beef or chicken, you want to make sure that you use lots of herbs and spices rather than using salt and powdered seasoning, because the thing is that the herbs and spices too, they tend to make up a majority of the meal if you decide to add them more. So for instance, if you decide to add like cilantro, oregano, parsley, and those type of things in the meal, you realize that could make your chicken, add the vegetable part of the chicken to the meal itself and add some balanced nutrients, because these two not just have phytochemicals, but they are able to help to remove some of the toxins from your body. And that's what herbs and spices do. Not to get into too much of the details of that, because there's so many herbs and spices out there that you can add to your meals that can help with that. And then as you look at the vegetables that you provide, yes, nothing is wrong with giving mixed vegetables, because sometimes that's what the companies or organization can afford in bulk. But my suggestion is, instead of using canned mixed vegetables, you can use frozen, because what we as dietitians call it is fresh frozen, because it is actually blanched vegetables. So what they do, they actually heat this water up to a certain boiling point, and then they would drop this raw vegetable in there. And then once it heats up, they would throw off this very hot water, and then they would shock the vegetables with cold water to keep it partially fresh. Okay. So when you provide that for the clients, what you're giving is closer to fresh rather than something that is cooked and canned. And so you're giving more nutrients to your clients that you serve. So that's a way to add some additional nutrients and to make the food more nutritious.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about some of our local fruits. Coconut water. Is it good or bad for you? I guess it depends on who you are.
Right. So coconut water is really good, but it depends on who you are. Because if you are having problems with your kidneys, it may not be the best thing for you. If you may be having, it could be good for your blood pressure, but it depends on how much sodium is in there. So sometimes, because you're not able to quantify the coconut water itself, I usually suggest that, for instance, if you're hypertensive, you could always add some additional water to it to, what we call it, dilute it somewhat. And then if you have kidney problems, and depending on where your kidney results are, you want to speak to your general practitioner about your kidney results. But other than that, it may not be the best thing for you. However, coconut water is in general a good thing.
Don't know if people are still familiar with this, but I have some in my yard. Fever grass.
Yes, in general, fever grass is an overall good thing. Fever grass is it is called an antiparaplegic for a good reason, because it's good for not just cancer, but it's good for your muscles and bones as well. It really is a good herb. It's not what it is for no good reason. It's good for your skin overall. So yes, fever grass is in general good. And it doesn't really matter whether it is, unless you have a problem with clotting, it may not be the best person for you, but other than that, it's good for everybody else.
Okay. Now we're coming into the fruit season, so we'll soon be getting mangoes. We'll soon be getting avocados as well. Can you speak about our local fruits?
Yes, I'm smiling from ear to ear about the mango because every time I go on a home visit, once my patient is able to have a conversation with me, they say, "So, Mr. Mara, what do you think about me having some mangoes? It's almost summer." So I'm like, it really depends on how good you are. So, for instance, if you are having problems with blood sugar, you could still have a forgive me for saying this on the radio. You could still have a little piece of mango if you're really good with your blood sugar. And I usually tell people this. Sometimes nothing is wrong with doing good to somewhat do bad. Put it this way. Say, for instance, your blood sugar is always good and you're really a lover of mango. Then nothing is wrong with having a piece of a mango at some point, but not a whole bunch of mangoes on a plate. So yes, mangoes are really good and you do get your vitamin A's and our elderly community does need that, and you get those from your yellow fruits and vegetables. So yes, mangoes are good, but you want to be mindful of the quantity, that because we know Caymanians and the whole Caribbean, we just love that fruit so much, but sometimes we tend to overdo the quantity. It's the quantity that matters.
Yes, because we used to have this saying in the Cayman Islands, when the mango season come around, everyone says, "I'm turning my pots down."
Yes.
Because all we're going to do is eat mangoes.
Mangoes all day.
Does anyone have a question for Ms. Riley in relation to what you're going to be discussing, and how nutrition may play a role in that as well, Spotley?
Yeah, I was thinking, is there any recommendation you'd make to a senior about when they eat in relation to then their attempt to exercise?
Right. So the thing is that we usually suggest that you try not to eat, especially late at night, because one, that can lead to acid reflux problems as you get older. So we usually recommend that, yes, you could have teas, but try not to eat too late, maybe after 7 o'clock or so. If you're having a bedtime snack, tea and maybe a few crackers are okay. But as I said, acid reflux tend to become a bigger issue as you get older. And yes, if you're a senior person and you are exercising, then you want to coincide that with the types of meals that you eat. So you can't be doing like generally light meals and expect to be strong, to be physically active. So you want to make sure that you're consuming your 3 solid meals, your breakfast, lunch, and maybe in Cayman, dinner is like 12 o'clock. So that would have been 1 o'clock. That's their biggest meal. And supper is usually tend to be smaller. So I am fine with that. But as I said, it's best to try not to eat too late, because that can you can start to have stomach issues as you get older.
Okay.
So like for a senior, if they want to go for an early evening walk,
right?
Do they wait can they go right after their meal? Do they need to wait 20 minutes? What are you sort of thinking you'd suggest?
Well, I mean, if you could go, I don't see where there would be an issue if you go somewhat maybe 10-15 minutes after you eat, unless you have overeaten, which we don't recommend. Because if you overeat, then you know that if you start walking, you're going to start to feel that, backing up on your stomach. But if you generally eat a small proportion at that hour of the evening, yes, 10 to 15 minutes afterwards, you can go take a good walk, and that should be helpful. I usually don't recommend going to walk or going to exercise on a hungry stomach, though, because that's definitely not going to be good for you.
Yeah. What about the number of protein grams for elderly people who are trying to actually still build some muscle? Is it possible after 65 to build muscle?
Yes, it's still possible to build muscles after 65. I mean, it's never too late for a shower of rain. So, but the thing is that as it relates to your protein grams depend on what you weigh. So we usually recommend your protein based on your current weight. So if you weigh, for instance, a certain amount, because you can get from 0.8 to 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram of your body weight. But as I think I'd mentioned earlier, that it's important to do a nutritional assessment to see what your requirements are.
Super, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Any questions, Dr. Jackson?
Yes. How would you adjust that for somebody who has renal issues?
Well, which is a very good question, because as I mentioned just now, when it comes to renal problems, your protein is important. So we would normally try to adjust your protein, especially if you're on dialysis, though. If you're on dialysis, that is where it becomes even more important to do a quantification of your protein. If you
kidney function comes in stages, as in whether it's from stage 1 to stage 5, as in the failure. So if you're within the mid-range of, kidney disease, we usually look at, yes, the quantity of protein you consume, but it's not necessarily a restrictive amount. But what we do, we make sure that you're getting enough protein to keep your muscle mass and so on. And as it relates to your sodium, your potassium, and also, just your sugar intake, as it relates to renal disease, your kidneys may not be able to now process things like potassium and phosphorus. So we look at the various foods that may be very high in phosphorus, and we also have to look at what your blood work looks like. Because if your blood is low in phosphorus, we still have to give you some phosphorus from your food. If your blood is high in phosphorus, then we now need to decrease. So those are very important things as it relates to kidney disease. The same thing goes for potassium. Your kidneys are not able to, and when it comes to potassium, that can lead to heart problems if it's too high in your blood. So we usually look at those things. So anything that has to do with renal disease, it goes a long way as it relates to hematology. So we have to do a lot of looking into your blood work, and then we adjust your diet from there. So we usually recommend that once you see your physician says to you, hey, your kidney function is deteriorating somewhat, we usually recommend that you refer them to see the dietitian so they can have a look at the blood work, and then we can discuss the do's and the don'ts from there on.
Tamara, I have a question for you. So, I think one of the points that is coming through to me is this nutritional assessment. So, sometimes as even younger persons, we don't go to the doctor as often as maybe we should. And so, if I haven't gone and the doctor hasn't sent me for a nutritional assessment, but I'm thinking about all of this, how can I access a nutritional assessment on my own?
Oh, right. So the thing is that we are always open to making appointments to see a dietitian. There is a dietitian that is located at the HSA hospital compound that you can always call the hospital itself to make an appointment to see the dietitian, or we are located at Smith Road Medical Center where you can call to make an appointment to see one of us as well. Now, as you mentioned, yes, maybe the older persons may not see their physicians as often as they should. But my suggestion too as well is to the relatives. If you know you have your elderly relatives and you feel like, okay, they may not have seen the doctor in a while, I think it's always important, or a neighbor, or a friend, you could always ask them, when last have you done a checkup? I'm not sure, you seem okay. Everything seems okay, but when last have you done a real checkup? And we have to look at, do they have insurance as well? So we're also asking some of the relatives, if you know your family member doesn't have insurance, because I think that may be one of the biggest issue too as well. If they don't have insurance, try to reach out to your local representatives as well to say, I have an elderly relative, because we have to look out for a senior citizen community. I mean, I love my senior citizens. They have been such a source of wisdom to me when I go on my home visit. It's one of my greatest pleasure. So because we know they're out there, I usually say to them, I'm coming back. The other day when I went to a patient, her face lit up when I said to her, I told her to get something for her husband, and I said to her, I'm coming back to check. She said, you are coming back? I said, yes, I'm coming back. She was so happy. So if you know that you have your senior citizen relatives out there, they don't have some things like insurance, try to speak to your representatives or other people to get on board to assist them so that they can see the doctor, so we can know what is happening with them, because they may not be able to afford the assessment that they need to see what is going on. Sometimes they may not, may not be willing either. So reach out to us as well to find out, can we do a home visit, because this patient is not able to come to the clinic. Because so many times I've had to make this suggestion. Why is the patient not here? Oh, we just found out that the patient is not ambulated and cannot be here. I said, did you know that I can go to this patient as well? So these are some things that we need to find out. If the patient can't come to you, can we go to the patient?
Okay, before you go, and before we take the commercial break, I have one more observation that I'd like you to comment on. Those elderly persons who have been accustomed to their diet, eating that Cayman-style beef, eating their turtle meat, eating all of their bread kind, and they say, well, something is going to take me away. Something is going to kill me anyway, so I may as well die happy eating the things that I like. Any advice for those?
My biggest advice, and this is something that a research was done recently on, and it goes back to before I hit that point. It goes back to this stiff restriction. Did you notice when you try to restrict a child from doing certain things, they do it even the more? Mm-hmm. So sometimes we need to what we call do more of a slack on the diet kind of thing with our elderly, because sometimes as you realize that as we said initially, their palates change, our palate changes. So if they're loving their Cayman style beef, if they're loving their Wilkes and their turtle meat and so on, there is nothing wrong to give them a small portion at some point in time. It doesn't mean that this has to be every day. Mm-hmm. So you can have a discussion. If your elderly relative is able to have a discussion with you, can you say, Mama, Papa, how about I give you this on just every other week on a Saturday? This could be your splurge meal. This is what you love, because I know some of my patients, they love their turtle meat. So you could say, okay, let us make a deal. You eat these things because this is what the dietitian recommended. We do this for the whole week, and on the weekend I give you your best turtle meat. This is gonna be one of the best ones you've ever eaten. And so you tend to do it that way, so you get them to eat more of the other things that you want them to eat, rather than to be too restrictive. Mm-hmm. If you're too restrictive, what's gonna happen is that you're gonna have a parent or a relative that doesn't eat anything, doesn't want to eat anything, and end up having serious nutritional breakdown and muscle breakdown.
Okay. Before she leaves, Ms. Dorlin, you being, a community worker, and you will see these older persons that she's talking about as well. You have any questions, any observations for Ms. Riley?
My only question would be how would they manage nutritious meals on having limited funds?
Oh yeah. So initially we were talking about just that, and I think I may have to throw it back out there. If you don't have enough money, and I'm making the suggestion again, try to come together as a community. I think I visited the BRAC some time ago, and a lady was saying to me, she has this issue with not being able to cook all the time and so on. And one lady, I said it to another patient who came in to me. I said, I feel so sad for one of my patients. She was saying she's not able to cook because she live alone and so on. She said, I love to cook. I would love to cook for her. So I said, you know what, give me your number and I will pass it on to the family, because this lady, she loves to cook. This other lady doesn't love to cook. So if the fact is that if you have limited funds, people can pool together in the community to do potlucks. You provide one meal, I provide one meal, and we all have different parts of the meal. So remember, we have 6 food groups. We have our fruits, we have our vegetables, we have our protein, or what we call food from animals. We have our carbs, which is our staple food, our bread kind. We put all of those together. You carry one, you carry one, you carry one, you carry one, and we're all sitting at this wonderful table here. Each person pass around, and we all have a full meal of all the requirements for what we would suggest, and that could make it work because we don't have enough.
Sounds like an excellent community project. Yeah, at least once a week, get everyone together.
Give the right answer to the right person.
Yes. Paul, I know we're pretty late coming to a commercial, but we're going to go to a commercial break. When we return, we will be talking about exercise, fitness, and that conversation is going to be taking place with Miss Susan Watley. Sorry, my Watley. Watling, Miss Susan Watling. That will be taking place, and we know that a lot has changed over 46 years in health and in the health and fitness area, so we'll hear from her about that. Paul, let's take that commercial break. When we return, the conversation will continue, so folks, please stay tuned.
Are you feeling sick, but don't feel ill enough to go to the doctor? Ask your pharmacist for advice. Here at West Bay Pharmacy, our pharmacists have been trained to offer helpful, easy-to-understand advice on the treatment of everyday minor ailments for yourself and all the family. Anything from headaches, cough and sore throat, to cold sores, our pharmacists will know when medical help is needed and will not hesitate to refer you to your doctor if your symptoms demand it. Like doctors, our pharmacists have a professional code, which means all personal information you give them them will be treated in the strictest confidence. Visit us today at West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
Did you know that you can send money transfers to financial institutions anywhere in Jamaica with JN Money?
You mean I can send money straight to my account and cut out the middleman?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. You send your own money to your own account, giving you peace of mind that the money is in your account.
JN Money Transfers to Financial Institution is another convenient service offered by JN Money. You can have this done from any JN Money location. Deposit your money straight to your account without the hassle of asking someone to do it for you. JN Money Transfers to Financial Institutions, making life easier.
The Family Resource Center is inviting the public to register for the Color Me Purple 5K, which takes place on Sunday, March 26 at 6:30 a.m. at the 7 Mile Beach. Registration is $30 and includes a t-shirt, registration, and refreshments. There will be great prizes up for grabs, including one of the Purplest Runner Walker. All proceeds from the Color Me Purple 5K will benefit the Family Resource Center's Young Parent Services. The Family Resource Center is celebrating Honoring Women Month throughout March in many other ways and encourages you to follow them on Facebook or Instagram to keep up to date with all their offerings. For further details, please contact the Family Resource Center at 949-0006 or email frc@gov.ky.
System 1 loaded. 1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're talking about healthy living for seniors here in the Cayman Islands, and I hope and I trust that you are getting lots of valuable information, that you're enjoying the show as well. If you have any questions or comments, I invite you to email them to us. Our email address is fortherecord@candw.ky or WhatsApp us 925-3261. We will share your comments or your questions with our experts around the table as well. And to remind you, of Dr. Riley's information that she passed on to us as well. Hopefully, we will take all of that on board. I have a saying in Cayman, if you're having a meeting, are you having something that you want to attract people, just say food will be served. So what I would caution you now is that when you're serving that food, think about the health benefits that people can receive from that. So you want to ensure that you serve healthy foods as well. So we're going to talk about exercise in the Cayman Islands. We know that depending, if you're in a gym, then you're a little bit safer. Although getting to that gym, you either have to drive, ride a bicycle, or walk, and you could be in some danger on the roads of the Cayman Islands. For cyclists and for joggers, it's getting pretty hazardous out there as well. But we see more and more persons exercising in the Cayman Islands, and that is good. But we want to hear from the experts, on that as well. So we're going to hear from Ms. Susan Watling, who's a physiotherapist.
Good morning, everybody. I guess if there's anything you want to take away from today, just remember this, that motion is lotion and movement's medicine. So we can take that and remember it and then apply it to your life, because each person's unique and what's going to be happening to their life and what their prescription for movement and exercise is. So it's really fun to think about, like, what is a senior? I'm a senior. And what does that mean in terms of what's possible in movement and what's possible in exercise? And how do we make it work for the specifics of each person, their lifestyle, their commitments, their budget, and their sometimes disability? But if you keep those things in place in your brain, that the motion is the lotion, the movement is the medicine, you'll find a way. And that's what this is about today, is figuring out how to get into that inroad for each specific person. So I'm really looking forward to the community giving some calls in with your specific presentations, so I have an opportunity to help you with that. And at the same time, we have a general practitioner here and the team of dietary things as well. We are a team, and so if you have a particular problem, be sure that you do get your general practitioner assessment. She'll refer you to a physical therapist or to a specific medical practitioner to give you an assessment of your movement, as well as then the physical therapist can guide you as to your unique prescription for exercise. So that's exciting. I think those opportunities for all of us are there every day because Cayman has an incredible mantle of health providers, and we don't wait long lineups to stay unwell. We can actually access care through HSA quickly. We have private sector GPs as well as medical facilities, and we can help people quickly. So that makes it exciting. So I don't know if you know this, but we are globally confronted with a physical inactivity pandemic.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that again. I wrote it down. Globally confronted with a physical inactivity pandemic. What? Like that's a really big sentence, and it's not particularly pretty. And we have to say, how did we get here? So inactivity isn't just an issue for seniors. Not moving and having lifestyles where there isn't movement has now become part of ergonomics of our day, life situational setups based on just a lot of car activity versus walking. And we have to figure out how to get moving. And the word move is a 4-letter word for some people. Like, I don't want to overcome inertia. I don't want to move. I'm a lot happier sitting here with my program on the TV or just sitting. Like, as you get older, it's funny, I have to battle it myself. I really enjoy sitting. Like, I like sitting more than I used to. I like sipping coffee. I like having conversations versus moving. And I have to be really specific and disciplined about my exercise windows to make sure that I can live in the space that I know. As I age and my muscles want to waste, I have osteoporosis. How do I do the dietary things that we just discussed with Ms. Worms? And then how do we activate that into a system that we're going to be successful people aging so that at 90, we're still contributing to the community? Because remember, exercise of the physical body is exercising the brain. Exercising the physical body is exercising your emotions. Exercising the physical body is exercising your community. Like when you're participating with the physical, you're participating with the rest of the world around you. So that's why we encourage these little prescriptions of movement, because they do layer into the rest of your life. So some suggestions that have been made by the World Health Organization is that we do 150 minutes a week. So that's about 21 minutes a day of some moderate intensity exercise. Just as an FYI, so you're not madly trying to remember everything, this is all recorded, and we're going to give you a link to a really fun YouTube program you can watch that has one person sitting in the chair showing you the exercise program and one person standing, and it's a little 20-minute thing you could do every day. So if you're stuck at home and you want to, you're going to have that as a link to then go ahead and send off to another friend if it's a younger person listening today, or if you're a senior and you want to see if you can access some exercise at home. But that 150 minutes can be shared in many, many ways. You can do it in a friendship group with walking. You could just do it at home with simple music on that you really like, and you can go from sitting in your chair to standing, back down again, do that 10 times. Then start walking around the house with your music on. You can dance. There's a lot of things that create movement and increase in your heart rate, and the things that you need to consider that your body's actually got that additional range of motion in the joints that doesn't have to be, I am going to a gym. Because Mr. Orrett made a good point. It's not that easy. There's a budget required there. There's a time in motion. There's an outfit you have to put on. There's an attitude you have to get. Like for many of us, it's just more fun to stay in our homes and just allow that exercise opportunity to be expressed there. So finding out the right motivation is sometimes a secret in working out, and that helps you stay with things as well. And studies have shown that exercise on a regular basis can reduce and delay and even prevent some of the early onset diseases like diabetes and cancer, and some of the common medical conditions that are affected by exercise can really be wonderful. You can go to your GP after you've added exercise in after 6 months, and she can go, oh my goodness, look at your labs. Your HDL, LDL ratio is better. So you can incorporate the nutritional things with the exercise things and have some real change. So it's not too late. I don't care if you're someone listening today and you're 80 years old. It's not too late to start to move and have that motion is lotion be part of your new way of looking at life and your value. I think we have to realize we're worth it. We're worth taking the time out to exercise. So often life just sort of gets in the way. There's always someone else either wanting us to do something, so we do that, or in the case of just overcoming inertia, why do I have to get out of my chair and move? I hurt. Oh my goodness, my knees are sore. Oh, my shoulder's not working very well. Well, there's very, very few circumstances where you shouldn't be moving just because you hurt. Like you would go to your GP if they said something specific, like you don't need to move this hip right now because it's in a particular healing curve. Go see your physio. She'll take care of the pain. Then you'll move. But in general, most of the time, movement will overcome the pain by moving the joint, by getting up and pushing through that kind of warmed up and worn out window. You'll actually feel better afterwards.
Okay. We're going to take a commercial break now. I sort of went a little bit past it. But when we return, here in the Cayman Islands, and people still believe in this, going to the beach, the salt water. And we had one of our most popular and famous politicians, Ormond Laura Panton, who what we call now the what's that called? The North Terminal or the South Terminal? South Terminal, which was Hogstye Bay. Mm-hmm. You know, in the mornings, early in the mornings, you go out there and he would be out there. We know other persons who drive down to near the Westin and go to the beach there. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that, how beneficial it is? Is it all in the mind or otherwise? Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
That's a great...
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
Can you imagine your home completely organized? At Brand Source Custom Closets, we can. We specialize in designing and building custom closets and storage units for any room in your home, including the garage. With tailored designs and custom LED lighting solutions to fit your lifestyle and budget. Our Custom Closets expert is committed to enhancing the value of your home with a solution that is uniquely yours. Visit our showroom or call 623-6774 to schedule a no-obligation appointment with our design expert. Brand Source Custom Closets, 209 Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park.
For the record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matter. For the record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. We're talking about healthy living for seniors here in the Cayman Islands. We have various experts around the table. We're now talking with Miss Susan Watling, not Watting or Watley, Miss Susan Watling. And before we pass the mic over to Miss Dorleen, therapy, saltwater therapy, extremely important to Caymanians, especially generational Caymanians.
That's a wonderful, smart generation of humans, then, I have to say, because it is the best hydrotherapy tank that we've been given. It's a God-given place that we can all go. It's free. And I'm so glad you brought it up. It's one of the things I was going to mention when we went to the part of what can I do? Well, do something that you enjoy. And there's a place of great joy that occurs just in the community of that, or even individually, just being part of what the salt water does for the transfer in your skin and the body, the buoyancy supported, as well as the water-resistant aspect of movement in there. Just floating in the water, walking in the water. If you're having balance issues, you can go to water that's waist height and just walk back and forth along the sea, and then increase or decrease the depth. And even walking on the sand in terms of your foot dynamics and the different things of the small muscles of the foot, the things we don't get when we're in isolated indoor arenas. You probably have noticed there is a group of people that are part of a competitive swim organization here, not just sort of what I would call going down and bathing and relaxing, but swimming unto itself can be done as an exercise and get you into that medium to high intensity workout, and you could add that into your day, even that 20 minutes, and end up with a really, really wonderful result in overall health. Just watch yourself in terms of your sun. The early morning sun doesn't necessarily require a full sunscreen if you're only out there 20 minutes and the sun isn't too bright. We used to always say between 10 and 2 going out was for mad dogs and Englishmen. So it's like don't go out don't go out then. Don't go out the beach in the sun between 10 and 2, because there's a lot of light reflecting off the water. You can get burned really easily, not even be aware of it. But yeah, it makes me want to leave this radio show right now, go down to the ocean. Oh my goodness.
Susan, I have a quick question for Susan.
Sure.
So like you talked about the sea and how going in the sea helps with making exercise a lot easier and all that sort of thing. But sometimes, though, we find that older persons feel that they have a difficulty. I'm going to say feel that they have a difficulty getting into the sea because of walking on the sand. And I guess sometimes I feel that as people age, they're a little
unsteady,
absolutely, and they're scared of falling and breaking. So how do we work around? Any suggestions for how we work around walking on the sand?
So true, Lois. Most things when you're older are a workaround, aren't they?
Yes.
So much is a workaround. Believe it or not, down at Governor's Beach, they've put a walking lane, a beautiful beach supporting walking lane that allows you to have more of a consistent terrain to navigate, because you're right that the sand by itself is difficult because of the mushiness of it. And then when you get down to the sea, there's a bit of a drop. So obviously you'd have support on the walkway. You do need to go with supervision. I think no one should be going down to the water. Like, I don't mean no one should be going down to the water without either a flight plan telling someone they're going down and they're having a swim, or obviously tandem swimming. So that's just wisdom, isn't it? But the walkway is fabulous. I think for some people, if the ocean's difficult, water movement by itself, just the water aerobics, they maybe could get into a pool setting. If the sea was too difficult, they could walk with somebody on a level pool deck and then walk down the stairs and have some support. There's great buoyancy aids that help increase the challenge at some degree, in terms of maybe like a water belt that gives you some support for upright water jogging at the beginning. Then here again is where we have to go ahead and speak specifically to a rehab physical therapist, someone who's going to be giving you some guidance as to where you start. Because it's really exciting to do well when you exercise. Nothing's worse than, like, let's say I heard this lady on the radio, and she's like, I'm going to go down to the ocean, I'm going to swim because Mr. Orrett says it's awesome, and Mr. Lois says it's awesome, and you go, and then it's an epic fail. Like, you go and you can't get in, and you fall over, and like the whole thing is just a big mistake. So you do need to know where you're at, what your muscle systems are doing, where your weak spots are, and then having that camaraderie of a friend, and it'll hopefully bridge some of those difficult issues, those workarounds.
Okay. We have about 3 minutes before we go to our headline news, and we know that there are some programs that are been put in place. We'll have you start on it, Ms. Dorleen, and then when we return from our headline news at 9 o'clock, you will continue. But tell us about the government programs that you're involved with.
For the Georgetown seniors, we work in collaboration with the sports department. And we have the lovely Miss Laverne Davis, who is with us on Tuesday mornings, and that is at TE Mapfield Center. And it's free. And they come out there and she teach them about balance exercise. And if they have any weak, if they're weak in their hips and so forth, teach them how to strengthen that. And even in Northside, we also have another program going on in Northside. And it's Saskia, who's our development officer of Northside, along with Cherry Ann and Molly Ann, who meets her up there sometimes. And the seniors are out there, they're enjoying it. And we're looking for more seniors to come out, hopefully. But those who are coming out now, enjoying it, and they're also reaping the benefit of it. Because I can see it, some of them are even more stable on their feet. And they can do some things now that they could not do when they first came. And, of course, we ask them to check with the doctor first regarding exercise and so forth, which is important. And put on some music and get them moving.
How do you find these? What's the contact for this?
Department of Children and Family Services. So we do in each district. Right now we're not doing in East End as yet, because East End used to do a water therapy program. But we have exercise in each district, all the other districts, West Bay, Georgetown, Bordentown, Northside. They mostly eat on a weekly basis, and it's once a week. Some do Tuesdays, some do Thursdays.
So what's the contact information to get?
949-0290.
949-0290.
That's the Department of Children and Family Services.
Thank you.
And they can contact, when they call in there, they'll be directed to the Community Development Officer.
Ask for senior exercise programs.
Ask about the senior exercise programs. It is free.
Great.
Or if it's, like, for instance, if you're interested in Northside, you'll ask for the Northside officer.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so we've reached the top of the hour. We're going to do our headline news. When we return, Ms. Watling, some of our listeners want to get your contact details as well in terms of your entity, your business. So when we pass the mic back over to you, we'd like you to provide those details, for our listening audience, those who are interested as well. Folks, top of the hour headline news. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The headline news is brought to you by Health Services Authority.
The Ministry of Education celebrates the grand opening of John Gray High School's new campus today. It all takes place at 11 a.m. and you can watch live on CIG's Facebook, YouTube, or cable channel. China's President Xi Jinping is in Moscow for a two-day visit and talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin. It's Xi's first visit to Russia since Russian troops invaded Ukraine in 2022. He's due to have lunch with Putin later and hold formal talks on Tuesday. The trip is taking place days after the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for President Putin for an alleged war crime. Beijing has described it as a trip, quote, for friendship and peace, with Russia saying the leaders will discuss a, quote, comprehensive partnership and strategic cooperation. Last month, Beijing offered proposals to end the war in Ukraine, to which the West has given a lukewarm reception. Western countries have previously warned Beijing against supplying Moscow with weapons. Those are your headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
The headline news are brought to you by Health Services Authority.
When you have a sports or fitness-related injury, trust the expertise of the HSA Sports and Exercise Medicine Clinic to get you back in the game. Our internationally trained and certified physicians specialize in sports traumatology, sports medicine, pain management, and orthopedic surgery. For treatment of common injuries such as tendonitis, arthritis, tennis elbow, rotator cuff, or knee tears, schedule a consultation with the Sports and Exercise Medicine Clinic at Smith Road Medical Center by calling 949-8600 or visit hsa.ky for more information.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matter. For the Record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're discussing healthy living for seniors here in the Cayman Islands. And just to remind you who we have in the studio with us still, of course, we have Miss Loy Kellerman with us. We have Miss Susan Watling, who's a physiotherapist. We have Miss Dorleen Welcome, who's the Community Development Officer in the Department of Children and Family Services. For Georgetown. Okay, I was spreading her out throughout the whole islands, all of the islands, but just for Georgetown. And we also have in the studio with us Dr. Lorna Jackson, and you will hear more from her as well, talking about the health challenges and everything. But we do have a caller on hold, so let's grab that caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes.
Good morning, caller. Welcome.
I will speak about one little thing I heard them talking about a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
About natural things. In the Cayman Islands, you got a man here in the Cayman Islands. Any kind of natural herbal stuff you need or you want for your body. That's why the older people used to live so long, because all they used to use them days was natural herbs.
Mm-hmm.
And you can use that, clean up your body, restore your kidneys, everything, right here in the Cayman Islands, and nobody's paying this man no mind. But I think it's stupid, but right now we got people that's going to this man from overseas, that's taking this natural herbs and cures and using it, and they find that it's good, and there's a lot more people that's coming for it to the Cayman Islands now than before. Anyway, you all have a good day.
Caller, before you go, so are you talking about one specific cure? Because we have spoken here, about some of the local herbs that we have in the Cayman Islands. We spoke about, things like fever grass. There's another one called Leaf of Life. That was very popular with my mother, and it's growing wild all over my yard as well. And that the claims are that it heals so many ailments as well. Are you talking about one specific cure?
No, I'm speaking about it. I can tell you about a lot of cures. AIDS, herpes, cancers, lupus, you name it, can be cured right here in the Cayman Islands by this man. And I'm not afraid to name him Mr. Christian. He's been an herbal doctor for 37 years, and he cured a lot of people right here in the Cayman Islands with cancer and all this kind of thing, and overseas. And nobody's paying him any mind. If your kidney go bad, he can give you a medicine to restore your kidney right back like the day you born.
Sounds magical to me, but it's good.
Do you know most sorry, I'm up too high. Most pharmacology does come from plant-based things. Metformin comes from lilacs. It's a well-used medication to reduce. This isn't my lane, but I'm just talking from a point of view of just knowing these things, decreasing your blood sugar. So the fact that plants are active and alive and molecularly part of who we are, because we're also molecules, is very exciting, and Cayman has so much wisdom. So I really want to thank you for sharing that, and I do know we need to connect more into that naturopathic place of opportunity and use it in conjunction with the guidance of our medical community, because they both have powers, they both have authorities of knowledge and intellect, and it's fabulous to blend them together. And
this man, as far as I know, he cures arthritis, high blood pressure, diabetes, everything. With natural herbs from right here in the Cayman Islands.
That's exciting. Do you have his contact details to share with everyone today?
Well, I can give you his number.
Let's do it.
923
3821.
3821.
That's great. Even the doctor's writing that down.
Yeah,
so
Dr. Jackson, you have any question for the caller? Any observation?
Well, as
Susan said, most medications are plant-based in origin. And before we had medications as such, chemical medications, plant-based used to help us a lot. But, there's the issue with...
Bring the mic a little closer to you.
There's the issue with, the percentage of what is in which plant. And that's where the problem can arise in terms of, what will affect the liver, what will affect the kidney if they're taken out of proportion. But, it will be good to have that blend of both the natural and the medical, chemical.
I must tell you the truth. This man have been helping people cure with cirrhosis of the liver much less with natural herbs from right here in the Cayman Islands. And he's been there now 37 years and never had a bad result so far.
That's great.
Okay. Paula, thank you. Thank you very much for that. And our panelists here, they have taken that information as well. Ms. Loy?
Well, you all have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You do the same as well.
Bye.
Actually, as we talk about what the doctor just said regarding the amount of something, this is where we have to even look at with exercise, like the frequency, the intensity, the time, and the type. That's called your dose of exercise. And it is unique to age groups of people, but also within those age groups, there's a different degree of the dose that's required. So I kind of began by saying the thing about moving. Let's just keep moving. Let's just overcome this inactivity pandemic. That's part one. So be that it's, as an older person, you're sitting in the chair, and you're enjoying a program, but you make a point of getting up and doing those seated squats, or that you go to have a cup of tea, or make sure you clean your own house. Like those kind of things are important. And then the added exercise with a specific prescription of I'm going down to the ocean, do my 20 minutes, and today I'll do low-key exercise, but the next time I'll try it a bit faster or maybe a little bit longer. That's how you kind of get yourself changing your prescription.
Now we're seeing more and more knee replacement surgeries, hip surgeries as well. And, I'm hearing that after that surgery, the next day, you're basically required to be up and doing something as well. Some people find that to be extremely taxing, but we know that it is necessary. Can between you and Dr. Jackson talk a little bit about that and the connections?
Yeah, I guess it goes to the motion is lotion. The continuous movement machines were added into knee replacements about 15 years ago, that right after the knee replacement, you have to keep that joint moving, partly for the muscle wasting component of it, but also for the nervous system, the neuromuscular system, to keep the messages going back in for movement. The procedures are less invasive. Some of the anterior approaches for hip replacements are much less invasive to the muscle systems, so they allow you a greater access to activity post-operatively, which is exciting. I do think that knee surgeries, the rehabilitation is painful. It's hard. That's why physios are these wonderful people that know their stuff, but they are solid and straightforward, that guess what? There's pain, there's hurt, and then there's harm. And it might hurt a little bit, but it's not harming you, and kind of finding that professional place to encourage movement. But knee rehab is hard, so the sooner you get moving, the better your outcome, the greater your muscle strength will be, and the end result of a good knee replacement is many, many years of successful movement.
Yes, that's true. I allowed Susan to answer that because she's a physiotherapist, so it's right up her street. But really, as she said, the earlier you can get moving, even though it seems so wicked, it's really hard, to tell somebody the following day you have to start moving. But in the end, it will reap good rewards.
Okay. Now, from a departmental and a community standpoint, how do we link all of these various remedies together, the nutritional aspect of it, the physio aspect, as well, as all of the other health challenges that medical doctors would deal with? How do you link that with your programs and your connections with your clientele?
Well, we always encourage our seniors to have your checkups done and check with your dietitian, make sure you're eating the right meals and so forth. And we encourage them from the community based, because we all have WhatsApp as well. We have them on the WhatsApp group.
Oops.
And if we get information again, we put it out there, this is happening. But it's, they have like blood check, health checks in different areas and so forth. We encourage them to go and keep active.
And especially for our seniors, we do have senior fellowships in all of the districts that we meet on a regular basis. So some meet weekly, some meet every 2 weeks, some meet once a month. But through our programs with our seniors, we incorporate different activities. So yes, we're building that exercise program that we spoke about throughout all the districts, and you don't have to be a member of the senior fellowship to attend. Okay, so let me make that very clear. As long as you're senior, it's a free activity. We want you to come out and exercise. And we're putting programs like that in the districts because we want people to be engaged and to be active. But on the programs that we do have, the senior fellowships, for example, we will bring in the nutritionist to speak. We do different programs. We may bring in a doctor. Last year for Older Persons Month, we had caregiving training by a doctor out of Health City, and which was very popular, and we were going to continue that. We look at nutrition, even in our other programs for younger persons as well. We will do programs that will teach young mothers, for example, how to make quick, easy meals for children. So we try to incorporate everything that we can as much as possible in our programming that we do. We don't always do it alone, obviously. We partner with other persons. So we may partner with some of the non-profit organizations, some of the service clubs. We partner with private physicians and health professionals. We partner with HSA, of course. They're always there for us. So we really try to work with the communities and to bring in the programming into the communities that they are looking for, that they are asking for, and that they need.
Okay. Before we go to the commercial break, Paul, let's take the commercial break. When we return, we want to hear from Dr. Jackson. But one of the questions that I have has been sent in to me as well, talking about mental acuity, and in our seniors, how do we keep them mentally healthy, as well. They would like to get some information on that. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. No one can stop me when I taste the fear. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, K-Man.
Since March 2004, West Bay Pharmacy has kept their doors open to the local communities, even before, during, and after Hurricane Ivan. At West Bay Pharmacy, our staff provides so much more than pharmaceutical excellence. From the moment you walk through our doors to completing your cash out, our staff will have put your healthcare concerns at ease. We would like to take this moment to thank our loyal friends and customers. To us at West Bay Pharmacy, our patients are our primary concern. We provide thorough background checks and precise calculations to ensure your medical safety. Thank you for being a part of our family and for choosing West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
Your dream home starts with a vision, and often inspiration is at the heart of that vision. Brand Source Home Gallery's in-house designers are here to help bring your vision to life. Whether you're remodeling or building a new home, Brand Source Home Gallery is your one-stop solution. Explore their kitchen cabinets, sinks, faucets, bath fixtures, tubs, vanities, and more. Let Brand Source's designers help and inspire you with your next project. Call 623-5000 and schedule an appointment with a design expert at Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, serving Cayman for 50 years.
Did you know advertising will be required before submitting a temporary work permit application that exceeds 30 days? Effective 31 March 2023, employers with part-time or full-time available positions will need to advertise on the Jobs Cayman portal. To learn more about the new regulations or for assistance in using the Jobs Cayman portal, visit work.ky. That's WORC.ky. Work.ky. Or call customer care 945-9672, 945-9672 today.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. The topic this morning is healthy living for seniors. This is in conjunction with the Ministry and the Department of Children and Family Services. In the studio with us, we have Ms. Dorleen Welcome, who's the Community Development Officer for Georgetown. We have Ms. Loy Kellerman. We have Ms. Susan Watlin, who's a physiotherapist, and Dr. Lorna Jackson in the studio with us as well. So the issue of mental acuity, one of our listeners wanted to know about that.
Right. So I'll address this first before the doctor.
Okay.
Exercise itself, just providing enhanced blood supply and movement, changes cardiovascular health, and obviously then enhances blood supply to the brain. So that's wonderful. And there's endorphins that are released when you exercise too, that make you feel better. I always say to people, smile while you're exercising, dance, put on music you like make a point of helping with your mind through your body. The motion does help with the mind. There's studies to confirm that things like Alzheimer's are actually decreased with people that are exercising and increasing exercising as they age. You can do simple things like Sudoku puzzles, crossword. There's a program you can download from a web page called Luminosity. It's got great brain games in it. So there's fun things like that will help you as well. So while we're on the mental acuity, it's maybe nice to segue into another portion of this, which Loisy had mentioned to me, which is many seniors go through life changes that make them more vulnerable to stress and depression. Some find it increasingly difficult to relax as aging wears them down, systems in the brain that respond to stressors. So practicing relaxation techniques also helps put your body and mind at ease. So you will feel better after your exercise, but sometimes if you're around the house and you're just feeling restless, you're concerned because maybe you can't make the grocery budget, or you're concerned because you just feel lonely because your partner's gone and you're wondering if you're going to be next, or when your kids are having some trouble. It's pretty easy to start ruminating into negative thought. It's quite easy to have one of those just capture a portion of your mind. That's why we always say mind the mind. You really have to mind the mind. And there was a funny saying, do daily mental floss for truth decay. Because you have to be
That's a good one.
Yeah, just be so careful about the things that are taking away from the fact that that you are okay, and that if not, there's someone there that's going to help you. We have an amazing community to age with in Cayman that's wonderful. But then just to help yourself move from that place of minding the mind, do your gratitude list. There's got to be something that you're delighted about. The fact that you exist and that you're here and you can move and breathe is a place that you can celebrate God's grace in you. So I'll say to people, put on your music, walk around the house, do your gratitude list in your mind, and watch a sunset. Like, wow, a sunrise or a sunset, just to pause and reflect on the goodness of what that is for you can change completely the inner place that you sometimes have of feeling a little bit down in the dumps, Getting out and helping a friend, connecting to community is a wonderful way to sort of change that feeling of, oh, it's not that bad after all. There's maybe somebody else out there that's not as even fortunate as I am. And it's valuable just in that whole chemical endorphin, dopamine system of the brain. If you have a pet, I don't know if older people can handle the challenge of a pet, but they do say that having a pet to look after is a wonderful way to just help with mental health, as well as a place just to have your kitty cat in your lap and pet your kitty cat at the end of the day is a great way to do that too. One of my favorite things to do is to make a bouquet of flowers. I'll just go out into the garden and pick a gardenia and smell that and put it in a little bowl of water, or try to get a little bouquet of flowers, and just basically ponder the beauty of what exists here in Cayman. Like, we really are. I think we're the fortunate ones. Like, I just am so grateful every day for the life I've been having here. And so we think of the people that have had a chance to age in Cayman, and now the massive support we have for the elderly.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the fact we are together, a community of think tanks that are creating support to make sure that sort of legacy of library. We have their libraries of greatness, older people. They're the most phenomenal people. And to have them move into those final decades where they've contributed so much already. They've lived through the stress of life and kids and work, and wow, it's a lot, isn't it? That kind of 20 to 60, and then finally 60 to 90 should be delicious. It should be wonderful. And yet sometimes it's not, but we've got solutions to make it better for them.
Okay. Dr. Jackson, over to you.
Okay, so I'm going to be looking at conditions that happens in our physical anatomy that may affect us as we age. So first of all, caring for the elderly is a multidisciplinary approach. As you see here, we have the physiotherapist, we have the nutritionist. We get the occupational therapist involved. We get the other specialties, the cardiologists, all involved so that we can give a complete, comprehensive care to our elderly patients. So regarding the tract, gastrointestinal tract, that's our food. We love to eat food, and we heard so much from the nutritionist already this morning. Mm-hmm. But there are some changes, like, for example, the salivary flow decreases. So it might be a little bit more difficult to swallow just from the dryness. So what they can do here, it might take a longer time just to chew the food properly so that it can, be more moist to go down. And then additionally, we have the chewing power that is decreased in the muscle of mastication. That's the muscles that we used to eat in our jaws. The strength is reduced. And that is why it's so important, the nutritionist pointed out, protein content in our diet, because the protein will help to strengthen our muscles. So foods pertaining to the elderly may have to be prepared a little differently. For example, instead of the hard potatoes, they might need just mashed potatoes. And again, we have to think about some elderly patients who don't have any teeth, And we know that is improving now because more people are getting better dental care, but that also poses a problem. And but they can see a dentist and see how best maybe a denture can help, because you might be wondering, why is this patient losing weight and they look like they're not enjoying their meals, but they don't, you don't realize that they don't have any teeth to chew their food properly. Okay, and there's also a decrease in differentiating among like sweets, sour, salty, bitter taste. That is a problem as well, and that is why sometimes you find that you may change, the elderly people may decide to change what they used to love, and they don't love that anymore because of the change. And as a caretaker, you have to be sensitive to that, sensitive to what the patient really wants to eat, or the elderly person. I'm accustomed to saying patient, the elderly person, because you might want to feed them with this nice cooked Cayman style beef, but that's not what they want. And they're going to be malnourished if you don't take the right steps to correct that. Also, the sense of smell decreases as well. So, they used to have their conch stew smelling so nice, and it's not smelling like that anymore. So, they may be turned off from conch. So we just have to be sensitive. The whole idea is to healthy living for our elderly patients. So we're going to try our best to accommodate them. Another thing that happens in our bodies as we get older is the motility of the esophagus. Esophagus is what persons call the gullet. The gullet, that the food goes down, and it has these little waves, peristalsis waves, we call them, that forces the food down. But as we age, that slows down difficulty in swallowing, and some people might not even be able to swallow. But one of the problems with the difficulty in swallowing is that it can cause aspiration, because the food, instead of going down the gullet, might go down to the lungs, the tube, larynx that leads to the lungs. So that is something that we have to be aware of that can happen in the elderly patient. So to counteract that, we might encourage the elderly person not to put too much food in the mouth at one time. So we call it reducing the bolus, and also the consistency of the food that they eat. And this is where our speech and language therapist would come in, because she would do a special swallowing test and mix the food with different consistency to see what is the best for that person to have. And we do that kind of referral, especially we do home visits, and we realize that persons are having difficulty swallowing. We do refer them to the speech and language therapist, which we have at the HSA. And then you have to think about the texture, as we said, and the component, the protein, because as we said, elderly tend to lose muscle mass. So we need them to have enough protein, which the nutritionist just talked about. We can have the patients sitting up when they're being fed, instead of having them lying down.
Yes.
Position is also important. And those are simple things. We don't want to have to do surgery unless we really, really need to have surgery. And when we find that patients are even having difficulty swallowing, it could be just that they're confused, dementia. And we have to examine the medications that they're taking, because some medication has certain effects. And I'm sure you've heard about GERD, acid reflux. Acid reflux. And, most elderly patients, they're on the PPIs, pantoprazole or meprazole or lansoprazole, to help them with that. And it'd be interesting to know what our caller calling about that gentleman to see what he uses for that. So this GERD, it's this burning in the stomach. And it happens, it's a reflux, acid refluxing from the stomach. It happens a lot in the elderly. Studies have shown that. There's also a bacteria. Have you heard of the Helicobacter pylori?
Yeah, H. pylori.
H. pylori. It can be spread by, fecal contamination, saliva. So this is why it's so important to make sure we wash our hands, natural hygiene, because that bacteria can cause gastritis. And it happens in the younger persons as well, but can be even more in the elderly person who most times they have comorbid conditions. So it can cause erosion of the lining of the stomach. One of the other thing about the lining of the stomach is that there's a substance called prostaglandin that is secreted and in the stomach, and that is decreased in the older person. It is decreased. So that's another area that we can get gastritis when we have certain medications, especially you've heard about the NSAIDs, the Voltaren, the Arcoxia. Wonderful drugs for inflammation, but in the elderly, we have to be very careful how we prescribe that.
Okay, we are going to take our commercial break. When we return, we're going to give Miss Susan Watling an opportunity for some closing comments, because I think you have to leave us fairly soon, and then we're going to return to Dr. Jackson with her contribution. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
At Doctor's Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctor's Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
She hear clunk and her car stop. I was just about to send her some money, so I send it straight to her JN Money Transfer card. It cost me less, and perhaps she use the card, pay the garage right away. She'll get discount through the JN Rewards program in Jamaica. This card make things easy. You can even get funds at any multi-link ATM.
JN Money Transfer card. Fast fast, affordable, convenient. Tell your loved ones in Jamaica about it. Sign up is free.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the people's station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're talking about healthy living for our seniors here in the Cayman Islands. Our numbers are starting to dwindle, but that doesn't mean that we still won't have interesting topics that we will be talking about. So in the studio, we still have with us Miss Dorleen. Welcome. We have Miss Susan Watling, who will be leaving us soon, so we're going to give her an opportunity for some closing comments, and then we will have Dr. Lorna Jackson and Miss Dorleen in the studio with us. So, Miss Watling, opportunity for some closing comments from you before you leave.
Yeah. Thank you. You know, the topic of exercise period, obviously in addition to exercise for seniors, is its own talk show. It's a huge topic. So I'm excited that we touched the fact that there's some programs for seniors in exercise in the community. That's exciting. And just to let you know, I'm going to give you 2 contact numbers for physiotherapy opportunities to connect into the community. Obviously, use the guidance of your GP or your prime practitioner. But the Will of Wellness Clinic, you can contact us at 926-2428 or the Align Clinic at 640-5050. And there's an exciting practitioner there to meet you that'll help guide you with your specific movement prescription, your problem, and then the next steps you can move into independence in the community. Get you out of being even taking that word sedentary and removing it and getting you into that next part of life, which is freedom. There's freedom in movement at so many different levels. And just to add in before I leave to what the dietitian had discussed, because food is so important, you can't really exercise yourself out of bad eating. Right, so I always say your best exercise is driving past all the fast food outlets. Just keep driving. That's your exercise. So keep those things in mind as we're working together as a team to help you have a wonderful life and feel better.
Okay. Thanks for your contribution as well. Thank you very much. Well appreciated. Dr. Jackson, back over to you.
Okay, yes. So I'll just continue then on some conditions that we see in the elderly. One of the big things is constipation. Constipation. And this is very common among the elderly, and you wonder, what can we do? You know, one of the things is with the diet, you know, eating a lot of fiber, you know, your vegetables, your fruits, and exercise is important as well. Just walking, you know, not a marathon, big jogging, but just walking. Studies have shown that helps relieve constipation. So it is very important that we eat appropriate fiber in our diet. And if you're having a problem with it, we ask the patients, let us know, because we also have medications that we can prescribe to help to bulk the stool so that the constipation will be resolved or decreased. So water is very important as well in bulking the stool. And we might be constipated, persons might be constipated, and it doesn't show as constipation. What it comes out as is diarrhea. It's called overflow diarrhea, incontinence. What's happening is that the stool has become impacted so hard that it's impacted so that whatever little fluid is flowing around the stool. And if that is missed, we will treat the patient for diarrhea, and the impaction will still be there. So that's something that we as medical doctors are on the alert for. Another thing that we notice, another condition in the elderly, is diverticulosis. This occurs when there are little pockets, outgrowths in the large intestine, in other intestine, small as well, sometimes in the small too, but mostly in the large intestine. And this happens because as we age, we have more collagen in our intestines. So that's a change from what the usual texture of the anatomy is. So we have these outgrowths, and then what we find happen, you get stool lodging in them, they get inflamed, you have terrible abdominal pains, and it can lead to even perforation, and bleeding. So again, fiber. And that's why I believe that caring for the elderly starts from your child, because your diet has to be geared. So this fast food thing that we have a lot of, it's not helping our young people, because the foundation needs to be built to have proper anatomy. So we can also look at screening for colon cancer, because cancer is another problem that can affect the elderly, colon cancer. So screening for that we usually do as medical doctors, colonoscopy, and this can go up to age 75 years. And going further may depend on the condition of the person, what their lifespan look like, how healthy they are to go through it. Okay. So I have some information on urinary incontinence, but before I do that, I just want to touch on decubitus ulcers, because that's one of the things that really hurts my heart when I visit a patient and they have these huge ulcers. And this can be prevented through diet, because diet, if you don't have enough protein, your muscle mass is going to be broken down. But one of the big things is turning the patient. And we always try to tell the caretakers, every 2 hours, a patient who is bedridden, elderly person who is bedridden, must be turned every 2 hours. Because if they're just lying on their back, the pressure on the sacrum, that's this bone at the back, the tailbone area, the pressure there causes a breakdown of the body tissue. And, sometimes it's so difficult to heal. And there are cushions to help with that as well, the turning, of course, but there are also cushions. There's one like a donut with a space in it. So, you'd put the bottom on that, or even when you turn them on the side, you put the donut so that the hip is falling in a little hole so that the pressure is not on the body. Also, even the heels, they are ankle supports for the heels to help to prevent these sores. So that's really touched my heart, and I would really like to see that being taken into consideration more by our carers and family. Sometimes you visit a patient and you're fine, and then the next time you go, they have this ulcer. And it decreases their quality of life. It does that.
Okay. If I can interrupt you there for a second, just to go over to Ms. Dorleen in relation to that and the home health carers. Does the Department of Children and Family Services have any involvement in choosing home health, or are the patients themselves or the families responsible for identifying them, even though they may receive financial assistance as far as paying those home health aides?
We encourage the family members, either the client themselves or the family members, to choose their caregiver. We do not find a caregiver for them, and liability and so forth in the department we have, so you have to be careful in that area. So we allow the family to come together and choose. And I know what we did in October, we had this session with Dr. Gupta, and a lot of caregivers came out to that, and he was teaching them certain things about how to care for the elderly and so forth, which we had one in Bordentown, one in Georgetown, and one in East End, and we even bused them there, the caregivers. So a lot of them came out. So this is an excellent idea. We can probably have another workshop with this information added to it. I think it would help our seniors.
Yeah. Dr. Jackson, any comments, anything to add to that?
Yes, I think that is very, very important, because it affects their quality of life. And they do have the pain that it causes. And, they have to be addressed ever so often, so that's also put a strain on the medical system. And it affects just the whole dynamics of the home situation.
When I do a home visit, especially if I know somebody's, vulnerable, and if something is happening there, I would do frequent home visits. And if something don't appears right, I will speak. I would either get the family member out. I said, at one point I had to say, listen, you need a caregiver. And he said, well, I need help. And, eventually he found someone, and, the person, after a while with the new caregiver, I mean, she could feed herself. She could get up and walk a bit and so forth. So it goes with care and, the caregiver. They choose at the end of the day and making sure that the caregiver is doing what they're supposed to do.
Yes. I have had to call the social service myself after visiting some patients. I called them so that they can be aware of what is happening, so that, they can have an input in that, in moving things forward.
That's right.
And we do have some commercial services that do provide care givers, on a professional basis. Now, the question would be whether or not those caregivers whether or not they're rotated or they are assigned to a specific client, because that person then becomes familiar. They develop a certain rapport with that caregiver. I have a certain amount of confidence in that caregiver as well. So that is extremely important also.
Yes.
Yeah.
Most times they're rotated.
Yes.
They are rotated. And as you said about developing the relationship, most of the relationship that they live is most like if you have a private permit, then there's the relationship that's built up there. But most time, otherwise, with the outsourcing, they are changed.
Okay, we're going to take our last commercial break, and when we return, Dr. Jackson, we will hand the mic back over to you. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
There you go, sir. Thanks for choosing JN Money Transfer.
Boy, thanks to JN Money Transfer, I can stay right here in Cayman and pay mama bills back home in Jamaica. Her water, light, phone, and other bills never late. Every month I pay everything in one place.
Make payments to over 30 companies in Jamaica through JN Money Transfer. Fast, affordable, convenient. Call 1-800-744-1163 for details.
West Bay Pharmacy. Personalized medicine, customized care to meet your specific needs. Your body is unique to you. Your medicine should be too. Whether you're seeking individual-specific medication, correct size dosages, or simply better tasting medicine, ask your pharmacist or healthcare provider about how compounding at West Bay Pharmacy can increase your treatment options, not only for your family, but for your pets too. West Bay Pharmacy, open Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., Sundays and most holidays from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Radio Cayman News.
It's disappointing that only limited progress has been made in implementing the recommendations made to improve Cayman's budgeting, financial management and reporting system.
The Miami Herald is urging its readers to consider the Cayman Islands as their vacation destination this year.
The Miss Cayman Islands Committee has been granted the Miss Universe license.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're talking about healthy living for seniors in the Cayman Islands. And we hope and we trust that you're enjoying the show, that you are gaining valuable information from it as well, whether or not you are a person who falls into that age category or whether or not you know someone, family member or friend who may be in that age category as well. We're dispensing information that will help to make living much healthier for our elderly. So in the studio, we still have Ms. Dorleen Welcome, who's the Community Development Officer for the District of Georgetown, and we have Dr. Lorna Jackson. So back off with you, Dr. Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. O.C. So another aspect that can really affect the elderly is urinary incontinence. And that prevalence increases with age. They can get, we know that some persons for different reasons may have urinary incontinence even when they're younger, but it's much more prevalent as the person ages. And if it's left untreated, it develops social problems, because I'm not going to want to go to Foster's, if I know that I'm going to leak and people are going to smell, this urine. So it caused that issue with social contact, and you wonder why they just want to stay at home. You say, come, let's go out, but no, because they are afraid that they're going to have a leak. So they also have the sleep disturbance because, they're wet and they get up. And that, again, predisposes to falls and fractures. The floor is wet, they're wet, they slip, and, they break the hip, and, you have a problem right there. So it's something that we really need to look at. We have the bladder outlet, the neck, the pelvic floor, the sphincters. They're all important in supporting the bladder and the urethra, which is a tube from the bladder itself to the outside. So strengthening that bladder, the muscles there is so important, and they have like exercises that you can teach. Some elderly will be able to do it. One of the things is just to, like if you're going to pass wind and you're in a crowd and you don't really want it to come out, you kind of squeeze the bottom together, right? That is one way of strengthening. So that's just an explanation to say, okay, everybody can relate to this, of strengthening those muscles down there to help to deal with the urinary incontinence. Because remember that, at first, the muscle was involuntary. So babies, they would just pass urine. But afterwards, so we can't teach children to be potty trained before that muscle becomes voluntary, So the bladder becomes more stiff as we age. It becomes more stiff, so it doesn't want to hold all the urine that's there, so it just forces it out. And it happens suddenly, because when we look at the different kind of urinary incontinence, we have urgency, which is part of the overactive bladder. So you just have this feeling. Sometimes you don't even feel it. They can't, it's a condition. It's a disease condition. So they can't help it. You're there standing up and this urine just comes right out. And it can be very, very embarrassing. So that's the urinary urgency. Right? It just happens. The bladder, it's not functioning the muscle's not functioning as it should. Then you have the stress incontinence. That's another one. And you laugh, urine comes right out because of some pressure. And then there's a functional incontinence. Nothing is wrong with the bladder, but you just can't reach the bathroom because, you might not be able to walk as well. You don't have the strength. You just can't make it to the bathroom on time. So that's a functional incontinence. And we can deal with that through, you can have a commode right beside the bed. That's one way of doing it. A commode just beside the bed so that the patient doesn't have to get up and walk this distance. It's right there. And also now that's where physiotherapy comes in. You can have the physiotherapist who will do strength training, and which will help to strengthen the bladder, okay, and help to prevent that. Then there's also the nocturia in the nights. You just pass in a lot of urine in the night. So you're up through the night. And that's not good again because you can fall and it disturbs your sleep, right? And there are medications that can help with these conditions. There are medications that can help with these conditions, but we always want to try to do, lifestyle changes, like you could keep a diary. How often do I get up? The carer now would mostly have to do that for the elderly person. It's time consuming, it's challenging, but then you maybe see patterns to know that, okay, I need to wake him now, or I need to let him do this at this time or that time so that he won't be disturbed when he's sleeping or something like that, okay? So urinary incontinence, we mentioned those things, but there are other factors that can be changed, that can be addressed, that could prevent it. For example, it could be an infection, an infection that's irritating the bladder, and then the urine, find that the person have frequent urination. Okay, so that can be treated. Patient comes, you do a urine test, checking for blood, checking for bacterial cell, white red blood cells, anything to show that there's an infection, because usually blood should not pass through the kidney. Those molecules are bigger. But if you see it there, it's also showing that the membrane is becoming more permeable, which has to do with an infection. Okay, so, and there's also the atrophic vaginitis. Now, this happens with a female, it's vaginitis. And they might have the burning, and we might be treating for infection. And that's not what needs to be addressed, because when the vagina atrophies or, shrinks, even the urethra, the tube that attaches to the bladder through which the urine comes, might be more exposed. So it's not working as it should. It doesn't have the sphincter muscle to keep the urine in. So that can cause also the outflow of urine. And that can be helped with estrogen. We use small amounts, that won't go on to the cancer as such. Then if you're restricted mobility, as we talked about the functional one, and we mentioned about the physiotherapist, and bring in the commode. Also, stool impaction can cause urinary incontinence. So that's another thing that we need to look at. And medication as well. Some medications can cause side effects of. So I think I'll stop here because you maybe.
Okay, we still have about 6 minutes
okay, well, I
left
can
to
go.
go.
Then.
Yeah,
okay.
yes.
All right.
In about 4 minutes, and we'll give both of you an opportunity for some closing comments to wrap up as well. Yeah.
Okay. So some medications do affect incontinence. Some of them are blood pressure medications, like diuretics. Diuretics is trying to bring the blood pressure down, so it allows you to pass urine, And what we suggest is that maybe you could take it later in the evening so that you'll get out that first set of urine before you go to bed. That way you don't have to get up. Because if you just take it in the morning and it works in the morning, it may be, gather up again in the evening and then. So that's one of the suggestions where that is concerned. If you have to be on the medication, we have to, you have to weigh the benefits against the risk. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have the ACE inhibitor. Those are antihypertensive medications, as well as the diuretics and the calcium channel blockers. They're also antihypertensive medication. So one of the things we do we look through their medication. It's very important to check the medication that they're on to see, could this be causing this? Could this be causing it? Can we change this? Can we decrease the amount? So when we have patients who are showing these incontinence, we usually take a history. History is very important. Mm-hmm. You need to listen to what the patient says, not just for urinary incontinence, but for anything else. You need to listen. A lot of time, the answer is just in what they say to you, and it's important to listen. And then we'll do the physical examination, and we'll do whatever diagnostic tests that we need to do. Okay? So there are treatment for these urinary overflow, urinary incontinence. We mentioned that we want to do lifestyle changes first. So we might tell the patient or the elderly person, do preemptive voiding. Don't wait until the last minute when you feel like I need to pass urine now, then you have to rush to the restroom. You know, the possibility of falling increases at that time, right? So you're going out, let me use the restroom before I go, you know, so that the possibility of me having an accident would be less. So we talked about the exercises, and then nighttime fluid intake. Reduce the amount of water that you drink before you go to bed. Okay. And certain things like coffee and alcohol and nicotine and spicy foods tend to predispose more to urinary incontinence.
That's a good point to close out on. So, Ms. Dorleen, we're hearing, from the good doctor here that caregiving, when we're looking at that, it shouldn't necessarily just be to have a company with the elder person, but that person needs to be knowledgeable. They need, and you pointed out, some of the programs that you have in place for them to be more informed. As our population continues to get older and older, do we need to have some of these local programs on a permanent basis so that caregivers are put through a routine where there are certain things that they have to know, they have to learn in order to do their jobs properly?
Yes, I would say yes, and even more workshops, whether we do it through the council, the senior council, or through our department, to order these workshops and to have caregivers qualified in that aspect of how to take care of the elderly properly. It's needed.
Yep. Okay. And any other comments you want to make before we close off?
Yes. Healthy lifestyle involves both choice and action. Making positive choices in the area of physical fitness, stress, and nutrition, as well as being aware of your health status and acting on those choices, promote a sense of better self-worth, happiness, and overall well-being. Relaxation is also important. I also want to encourage families to include the elderly in taking them out, include the neighbors, include the relatives, other family members, to take them out, take them exercising with them. And the other thing I have down here is, what if we could make the parks and beaches seniors friendly, and the street, because some of our seniors go walking. They have to walk around these vehicles into the road. They're attacked by dogs and so forth. So how we can make our communities and our streets friendly so the seniors can walk. Yeah. I have a few seniors who refuse to walk any longer because of dogs. They're afraid to be attacked by dogs. And of course, the parking on the road is horrible. Especially those who live in an area like Rockhole and so forth, they're at risk. And to also encourage our shop owners, if they could give discounts on fruits and vegetables for fiber reasons, so our seniors can be healthier.
All right, because I think there's Hurley's used to do, was it on Wednesdays and stuff? But what you're saying there, that specific healthy foods need to be targeted as opposed to just straight across the board.
Straight across the board. Because we don't want them going inside there to pick up, this big chunk of pork or something. But if you could get on things that would make them healthier, I think that'd be the best way to go about that. And, through our monthly fellowship, we would continue to encourage them, our seniors, to remain healthy and to invite guest speakers to continue to remind us of what we should do or what we shouldn't do and so forth. Although sometimes I know some of the seniors are spicy. I don't want to hear about diabetes again. And you know who that is. But, they need to be reminded. And we had someone from the pharmacy came in recently. I was telling them about their medication, and I thought that was a good session, an excellent session. Because of the fact, like, if your blood pressure is low, you get your blood pressure is low, don't take your blood pressure medication
Yeah.
at that point
Yes.
because already low.
Mhm.
You know, so
Right.
things like that we try to encourage through the fellowship. Yeah. And I also want to just say thanks to Dr. Lorna Jackson, Miss Tamara Worms Riley, who was here earlier, and Miss Suzanne Watlin. And of course, thanks for Radio Cayman for having us.
Well, thanks for being here as well, and conveying all of this good information, valuable information out there, and thanks for looking out for our seniors and caring about them as well. So, folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles, as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, wherever that may be. I also want to remind you that we are our brothers and our sisters' keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, also who's probably much older than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or even those who crave. So I say to you, have a great day. Continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling Dwayne Banks at 12:15 for Talk Today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record, proudly brought to you by
Coca-Cola, available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury. West Bay Pharmacy, taking care of your health. And JN Money.
From abroad to yard.
Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman.